Gaffer, thank you for joining us. Obviously, we continued our great run of form at Grimsby last week, and we got another exciting game to look forward to at home to Sutton at weekend. Can I get your thoughts ahead of that one?
Obviously, it's a home game, so we're looking forward to that. We've been good at home, we're looking forward to the game. It's a game that will be difficult. Forget reading where they are in the table. They're a difficult opponents. McGray gets them at it. Very difficult to play against. A tricky game.
Yeah, and we've had a full week on the training ground, which is good, and that's probably the last one we're going to have for a while, because from here on in, especially through October, I don't actually think we've got a midweek off. It's pretty rammed, isn't it? So how are you approaching these next few weeks? Is it sort of any different, or do you just have to sort of manage? You're going to have to manage the players and their schedule and everything like that?
Yeah, we've been through the schedule today actually for the whole of October, so looking at it, it is a busy month. And I think the first time we've got a free week is leading into the FA Cup week, I believe. So we've looked at the schedule and we've kind of mapped it out how it will look. It's busy, but that's football. It's English football, and it is. There is months where it's like that, and there's months where it's not so bad. So we just got to get on with it. We've got a good squad. We've got a big squad. Got some good players. So which is why it's important to make sure that we don't just coach the team that are playing. We coach the boys who are kind of waiting in the wings, as it were, and in a minute they're going to be involved, especially with these games coming thick and fast.
Yeah, and I suppose to put a positive spin on it, we've spoken a lot about the selection headaches that you might be having. A lot of the lads coming off the bench have been making, real impacts, and I suppose this month, if anything, is going to give them even more chance to get some added minutes, because, as we said, there's a hectic run of games. Precisely,
yeah, no, we're exactly that. We're mindful of that, and we're mindful that we have to, keep these boys ready. The boys who have not played so much minutes, we have to make sure that they're topping up in training, but also that we coach them as well, so they have that understanding of what's required of them when they enter the field of play. I think that we've had some real positive impacts from the subs of late. I think that the boys who have come on the pitch have done extremely well. You saw on Saturday the three that come on all had an involvement in the third goal. So it's important that we keep coaching them, and because like I say, with the games coming thick and fast, we're going to need every player.
Yeah, and this is one of the best starts we've had. I think it actually could be the best start we've had to an EFL campaign in the club's history. So I suppose all you want really is to keep playing games and keep the run of form going.
Yeah, precisely that. But we do know that it is just a start. So there has to be a middle and an end, which we've got to continue. We've got to keep playing well and picking up these results, and maintaining our start's important as we go through a very busy period, like you've said. So we've got to be mindful that it is just a start.
Yeah, and finally, just from a club perspective, obviously the fans can have a massive impact over this next month. We'll be travelling, far, and we've also got some very exciting games coming up at home. So the message is just keep the support coming and, get behind the boys, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, the fans have been good. They travelled in good numbers to Grimsby. It was a difficult journey, long journey. You could hear them throughout the game, supported us really well. And of course at home, the support's been brilliant. So long may that continue.
The last time you played Sutton was on March 7th, and it was the last game of a 8 losing streak for you. Your side lost 3-0. At that point, a lot of people seemed to think you were dead and buried. Looking at where you are now, it's pretty amazing turnaround in the space of 7 months, isn't it?
Yeah, when you look at it like that, it is. But I do remember that night coming off the pitch and thinking that was probably the last of a run of games where we wasn't confident getting many points from. The games after that, I did feel that we would go and win games and pick up points. So, whilst a lot would have probably put us down as dead and buried, I didn't. So it was good to get that game out the way, really. But one that we had a lot of injuries, I think, at the time. We kind of patched the side together. But it was a difficult night, but I do remember it.
And when people look at the table, they'll see that Sutton are towards the bottom end of the table, and we're obviously towards the top end. But it's not going to be an easy game, isn't it? We can't underestimate, the side that Sutton are going to bring down, can we?
No, you can't. They played a game in the week at Port Vale. I went to watch. Took the journey all the way up to Port Vale to watch that game. they pushed a League One team right to the end. I think Port Vale scored in the 87th minute, something like that. So it was a close game against a good League One side. They've got real attacking strengths. You know, they've got some big lads, some big powerful boys in their team. They play an aggressive manner. And this will be a difficult game, you know. It'll be a real tricky game. We've got to be at our best.
Yeah, and last week you said you were disappointed with the performance overall at Grimsby. So what have you been working on at the training ground this week to sort of correct that and hope that we can do it in slightly easier fashion at the weekend?
Plan A. We've been working on Plan A to be better at that. You know, we want to be better with the ball. We felt that we was kind of too slow with our build. We were too slow when we got past their initial press. We didn't make many passes. We were poor. You know, and we've kind of highlighted that in the early part of the week when we debriefed the game. And we've been working on kind of improving our all-round play, really.
You've mentioned in the last couple of post-match interviews XG quite a lot. A lot of people probably don't understand why it is so important to a coach, and can you just sort of explain why it's so important to your sort of analysis and an individual and team's performance?
Yes, XG is obviously expected goals. Every time we have a shot on goal, it's a score that's given for that in particular shot, and they score it accordingly depending on where you are when making the shot, what's in front of you when making the shot, what you're shooting with, whether it's your head or your foot, will kind of score it accordingly. Whether it's blocked, we'll score it accordingly. And it basically gives you an overall score of your chances that you've had. Now, the kind of thought process behind it is, you know, the more your XG is, the likelihood is you're going to score. Or the higher the score is, the likelihood is you're going to score. And it kind of patterns out over the course of a season to be probably not too far off where you should be. At the moment, we're actually overshooting our XG by about 7 goals. We're about 7 goals in front of where we should be. That's because we've scored goals that have been very little chances, if that makes sense. So for argument's sake, Liam Kelly's goal on Saturday would have been a very small score on XG, but obviously we scored it. Ronan Darcy's goal would have been slightly higher than Liam's, but would have been quite low still. But again, he scored it. So we're actually overshooting what we should be doing by about 7 goals, I think, from the start of the season.
Liam, thank you for joining us. We're on a great run of form at the moment. We've got another exciting game to look forward to at Sutton. Well, here at home to Sutton at the weekend. Can I get your thoughts and into that one?
Yeah, like you said, what are we, 3 in a row? 4 including Charlton?
4 including Charlton.
So, yeah, we're in a good run. Everyone's in a sort of a good position. Squad's healthy. And yeah, a little local derby on the weekend, so it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it's been a great start to your Crawley Town career. Did you expect to sort of settle in so quickly? And if you did, what have you put it down to? Is it mainly the gaffer and obviously the boys as well?
Yeah, I would say mainly the gaffer, and obviously the boys have made it easy. Sort of from the first day of pre-season, the gaffer and how he wants us to play. It's just made my life easy. And then obviously with the squad we've got, it's made it a lot easier playing with them. And yeah, I've just really enjoyed it.
Yeah, from a personal perspective, I suppose it was nice to finally get off of the mark on Saturday against Grimsby. You've had a fair few opportunities this year from like long range. We've seen you strike the bar a couple of times, and you know finally you've managed to net one, an absolute cracker as well. I mean, I know we've had a lot of conversation whether it was deliberate or not, but that doesn't matter. But I can imagine, just personally, it was just nice to get off the mark, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's always nice to score goals, and yeah, sort of. Well, I guess I'm not really in the team to score goals, but when the opportunity comes, it's nice to sort of get on the score sheet and sort of get us back in the game. We started the game really slow, so yeah, it was nice to just get sort of back-to-back goals early, going into half-time. So yeah, it's enjoyable.
Yeah, you mentioned there that you're not necessarily in the team to be the goal scorer, but you're also up the top end of the assist table in League Two. And how important is that to your game? That sort of creative element.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, if I can chip in with assists as well. I sort of got a licence from the gaffer and coaching staff to sort of, I think as a team really in the final third to sort of play how we see it in a way. Obviously building up from the back, and we're quite structured and there's a sort of a method to it. But I think the gaffer's been really good in terms of in the final third we sort of got a licence to sort of do what we want in a way. So it's allowed me to get a few assists and sort of pick them passes out, and I'm just lucky enough to have lads on the end of it putting them away.
Yeah, it must be satisfying to know that you can contribute at both ends of the pitch, because as I mentioned before, we've seen you sort of have some strikes from long range at the edge of the box where you tend to be lurking when the ball is in and around that area, but also chipping in with assists too. You know, I suppose as a midfielder, it's, you know, you get a great deal of satisfaction doing both, I guess. Yeah,
100%. I think it's massive now for midfielders to sort of chip in. I think you see the top players, Kevin De Bruyne, Bruno, their sort of stats are sort of off the roof really in terms of up there with wingers and strikers. So I think especially in the modern game it's key to sort of chip in for all areas really. Strikers, midfielders, wingers, fullbacks nowadays. So yeah, it's just a big part of the game now.
Yeah, and we've spoke to Scott a lot recently, obviously after the games, and he's someone he always picks out you and sort of talks about your performances, and he said that he had his eye on you for a long time. You know, how pleasing is it to, you know, finally get to work with him, you know, properly, and what is it that makes him such a good manager? Because it's clear to see the impact he's had on the squad this season.
Yeah, 100%. I think I said it in a recent interview that sort of from end of last season it was a phone call, and I think from that sort of phone call I only had sort of one direction where I wanted to come, and that was Crawley. And I think any player just wants a manager that sort of really wants you. I think, yeah, his style of play suits me. The detail he goes into every day sort of makes my life and the rest of the lads' lives easy going out onto the pitch. So yeah, full credit to the gaffer for sort of my performances, yeah.
And what are your sort of personal ambitions at the moment? Because obviously we're having a good season at the moment, and you know there's lots of ambitions I'm sure that the lads have got, and they will keep obviously private, as we've spoken to the gaffer about before. But in terms of like short and long term ambitions, because you know I know you've mentioned it in recent interviews as well. You've obviously sort of been up and down the leagues in recent seasons. You know, you've come back to the Football League after Rochdale unfortunately got relegated. So what is your ambition short term? Because you're not old either. You're only 27, so you've still got, you know, plenty of years left in you, haven't you?
Yeah, I think for now just try and play as many games as I can. I think I've been lucky enough to play in every game so far this season. So touch wood, no injuries in that. I can continue that. And yeah, just help the team as much as possible, and hopefully by the end of the season, me and the club are in the league above. But yeah, we just go sort of game by game.
Yeah, and you know, I just want to touch on that as well. A lot of people had sort of written us off at the start of the season, and you know had their things to say. And we know it's a long season. We know anything can happen. But how special is this Crawley side, and you know how far do you think we can go?
Yeah, I think everyone has their opinion, right? And I don't think a lot of people know until they're sort of in the building to see the work that the gaffer and his staff do. I think as soon as sort of, especially I'd seen it firsthand, I knew that we'd be all right. And with the squad we got, yeah, I just think it's, like you said, it's a long season. I think we just got to take game by game and yeah, just see where it takes us.
Liam, that was quite a win on the weekend, 2-0 down to pull it back. You got yourself on the score sheet. What did it feel like when that Danilo Orsi goal went in the 96th minute?
Yeah, I think relief was the main first thing really, because obviously how the game started and how disappointed we were with how we started. Yeah, I think overriding feeling was relief, but obviously a very good feeling as well.
I've got to ask you about that goal as well. It was some strike, but I might be being a bit cheeky in this. Was it a strike? Was it a cross? What were you aiming to do?
Honestly, I actually don't know. I've been asked it so many times, and I still really don't know how it sort of happened. But the main thing was it went in. So yeah, I'm just happy it went in.
We'll take it. And that was, you know, Crawley's second win in a row where you kind of brought the game back and scored at the last minute. What does that say about the character of the group at the moment to keep on going right to the last second?
Yeah, it's massive, you know. I think it's spoke about a lot when like the top teams win games when they're not playing well. And I think definitely on Saturday, it was one of them games where we weren't ourselves. Having sort of looked back on it, we definitely weren't ourselves, and yeah, we sort of got away with it in a way. And yeah, the character from the boys is unbelievable to sort of do that. But I think again we spoke about it. We can't keep doing it because there's going to be a time where we will lose a game like that. So yeah, I think if we can, we try and not win as many games as we can playing like that. But yeah, it's nice when you do win them.